Olá, amigos. Hoje temos um arco-íris no céu, nessa manhã de inverno. Conta a mitologia que o arco-íris faz a ponte entre o céu e a terra. E que no final do arco-íris, aqui na terra, podemos encontrar um pote de ouro. Então hoje quem trará esse pote de ouro é a Sua Santidade, o Dalai Lama, nos falando sobre o karma, as ações negativas que cometemos com o nosso corpo, palavra e mente. Quais são essas ações que acontecem quando estamos invigilantes, para podermos reconhecê-las no momento que estivermos atuando e evitá-las. Ouçamos essas preciosidades vindas do budismo tibetano, trazidas por Sua Santidade, o Dalai Lama, que pode nos ajudar na nossa caminhada espiritual. Vamos lá.
So yesterday we spoke about the fact that what we naturally desire is happiness and a wish to overcome suffering. But in contrary to our natural aspiration, often we tend to create more conditions for our suffering, and also we are ignorant of the ways of creating causes for our own happiness. So what we found is at the root of all of this is a fundamental confusion, or in Buddhist language it is called the fundamental ignorance. And this is sort of a state of confusion in relation to not only the way things are, but also in relation to way causes and effects sort of follow each other, and causes and effects relate to each other. Therefore, in Buddhism, when we talk about fundamental ignorance or avidya, we talk about two levels of ignorance. One is the ignorance or confusion relating to the laws of causality, the laws of the karma. And the second one is confusion or ignorance pertaining to our understanding of the ultimate nature of reality. And these two types of ignorance or confusions are related to the two levels of understanding of dependent origination, or pratitya samuppada, that we spoke about earlier. The understanding of the pratitya samuppada in terms of dependent origination, in terms of causal dependence, will enable us to dispel this confusion pertaining to karmic laws or causality, and understanding or deep insight into the interdependent origination in terms of the ultimate nature of reality will enable us to dispel the confusion or ignorance that pertains to our understanding of the ultimate nature of reality.
the Shabbat. Dagana Shingi, any Nyanyumba, Nishu, the Sonche.
So, however, this does not mean that this ignorance or confusion is the only cause of our enlightened existence. Of course, there are many other derivative causes, which or conditions, which in Buddhist language is sort of technically called afflictive emotions and thoughts, and this is a very sort of complex class of emotions and thoughts, and we find sort of detailed descriptions of these emotions and thoughts in the Abhidhamma literature. For example, according to Abhidhamma literature, there is an understanding that there are 6 sort of root emotions, negative emotions, or thoughts, out of which arises 20 sort of secondary types of emotions and thoughts. So there is a complex explanation of the world of emotion and thoughts. And also we find sort of another sort of further explanation of the process of being in an unenlightened existence in the Tantric Vajrayana literature, where there is an understanding of what is known as the 80 types of thoughts or conceptions, which are indicative of our being in unenlightened existence. Similarly, in the Kala Chakra literature, which belongs to the Vajrayana class, there is also a further identification of factors or causes of samsaric existence or unenlightened existence, which are understood in terms of propensities or natural dispositions. So these emotions or afflictive emotions and thoughts which arise from our fundamental state of confusion and then give rise to, or they motivate volitional actions. So together the delusions and karmic actions or karma are the origins of our suffering. Generally speaking, klesha or afflictive emotions and thoughts are defined as that emotion or thought which the mere occurrence of that in ourselves creates immediate disturbance within our mind and then afflicts from within, and that is the sort of general definition of klesha. So what do we mean by karma? If that is the definition of afflictive emotions or thought, what is the definition of karma. Here I would like to remind again to situate our understanding of karma within the context of wider Buddhist understanding of the natural laws of causality. Karma is an instance of the natural causal laws that operate within the world, within the universe, or within the natural world, where there is an understanding according to Buddhism that things and events come into being purely as a result of aggregation of causes and conditions. Similarly, karma is an instance of that. Now, the unique feature of karma is that karma involves an intentional action. Karma involves an agent. When we talk about natural processes in the world, although the processes, there is a cause and effect, sort of causal processes operating in the world, but where there is no agents involved, we cannot really talk about karma, because karma needs, in order for a causal process to be a karmic causal process, there is a need for an agency, there is a need for an agent, an individual whose intention would lead to a particular action. And that type of causal nexus or causal mechanism is known as the karma. So within that karmic action, generally speaking, we can talk about three types of actions corresponding to the effects they produce. The actions which produce suffering or pain, suffering and pain are generally speaking considered negative actions or non-virtuous actions, whereas actions that lead to positive consequences, desirable consequences, experiences of joy and happiness, these actions are considered to be positive or virtuous actions, whereas there is a third category of actions which leads to experiences of equanimity or states of neutral feelings or experiences. These are considered to be neutral actions, neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. So in terms of actual nature of the karmic actions themselves, we can talk about two different types of karma. One is the mental karmic acts, sort of actions which need not necessarily be manifested in behavioral or physical kind of actions, but rather they are more like mental acts. Then there could be also physical actions like bodily acts or verbal acts. So principally there are two types of actions. Similarly, from the point of view of mediums through which the actions are expressed or executed, we can talk about actions of the mind, or actions of the speech, or actions of the body. Similarly, in the scriptures, we also find discussions about karmic actions which are sort of completely virtuous, karmic actions which are completely non-virtuous or negative. Then there are karmic actions which are sort of mixture of the two. So I feel that many of us who practice the Dharma and who believes in the Dharma, perhaps most of our actions may be sort of a mixture of the two. And so if we look at, say, even a single karmic instance of a karmic action, we can see that there are stages within that event. There is a beginning, which is the stage of the motivation or intention. Then there is the actual execution of the act. Then there is one could say, the culmination or the completion of the act. So depending on how these stages are carried out, in the scriptures there is an understanding that the intensity or the force of the karmic action can vary. For example, for example, in the case of a negative action, if the person at the stage of motivation may have a very strong negative emotion, a forceful anger or whatever, a forceful negative motive, and then acts out on an impulse, carries out that action, but immediately afterwards feels deep regret for the act that is committed. So that action would be less forceful, because the three stages, the motivation, the actual action, and the completion were not complete, not completely fulfilled. Therefore, that action would be seen as less forceful compared to an instance where the person has acted out completely with a strong motivation, actual execution, and a sense of taking pleasure or satisfaction at the act committed. Similarly, there could be instances where the individual may have a very weak motivation, but some circumstances forces the individual to actually commit the act. But even in that case, although the negative act is committed, but it would be less forceful because the strong motivating force wasn't there. So depending on how forceful the motivation and the actual act and the completion are, there is a varying degrees of force and intensity of the karma.
No, today really a strong juxene. The Kabaya in the Tanene, Kasobe, Sal Macheva, Chala Masaba, Chasaniga Town, Chasaniga Maimba, because of these differences in the scriptures, we find discussions of four types of karma. Karma which is executed but not accumulated. And then there is a karma which is accumulated but not executed. And then a karma where the act is both executed and also the karma is accumulated. And then karma where there is an absence of both accumulation and the actual execution of the act. So today in this and Tula, they call mimic Jandicia, those Chavina, and it got option Chaviari. Then Miguel Chalia, because the Tudu, Tamunaji Guru, Adanji, shoot up Maya. Any part of it, to get that, give a lecture. Taman Julia, and then give a shut chair.
Once you understand the importance of this point, the significance of this point, and also once you understand that even within a single act, there are different stages to the actual act. The karma itself is a composite, sort of a cumulative act. Once you appreciate that fact, then whenever you have the opportunity to engage in a positive action, then as a practitioner, it is important to ensure that at the initial stage, your motivation is very strong. Your positive motivation is strong, and you have a strong intention to engage in the act. And while you are actually executing the act, you should ensure that you have given all your best. You have put all your effort into sort of a successful action of the karma. And then not only that, but at the end, once the act is committed, it is important to ensure that you dedicate the karma, the positive karma that you have accumulated or created towards the well-being of sentient beings and your own attainment of enlightenment and so on. And especially if one can sort of reinforce that dedication with an understanding of the empty nature, the ultimate nature of reality, even then it will be more forceful. Similarly, when as a practitioner, of course, ideally one should try to avoid from engaging in any negative actions at all. But even if you find yourselves in a situation where you are committing a negative or non-virtuous action, it is important to make sure that at least the motivation is not strong. There is no strong emotion involved. Similarly, even when you are acting, while you are acting, executing the action, if there is a strong sort of conscience pangs or sort of sense of regret or sense of kind of remorse, then of course the negative act, though committed, will be very weak. Similarly, this should not be sort of followed by any sense of satisfaction. You should not take joy in any negative actions that is committed, but rather you should feel deep remorse and regret, and then immediately you should follow the act by, if possible, sort of purification of that negativity. So if you can do that, if you can follow live a way of life where this is your way of relating to the sort of positive and negative actions, then you will be able to follow the law of the teachings of the karma in a much more effective way.
미기회 래 dom국이나 미기회 근래슬라위나 아니 낭주기 가서라 shum마고 나로네 지웅구송야리야 아니 미기 주본 쓰는 거래 소래.
So although there are many different types of negative actions, but in most of the Buddhist scriptures, when the sort of teachings on the karma and is presented, all the negative actions are sort of condensed or summarized in the in the form of what is known as the avoidance from the 10 negative actions or 10 non-virtuous actions. These being 3 actions of body, and 4 of speech, and 3 of mind. The 3 bodily acts being
social.
Avoiding from 3 bodily negative actions being killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, and 4 actions of speech being telling lies, engaging in divisive speech, speech which are divisive, and using harsh words, and engaging in just sort of senseless gossip, and the 3 mental actions being covetousness and harmful intention, harboring harmful thoughts, and holding wrong views. So for an ideal
practicing Buddhist Dharma practitioner must live a way of life where the individual avoids from all of these negative actions, if possible from all of them, if not at least refraining from as many of these actions as possible. And so leading a way, sort of ethically disciplined way of life, whereby you avoid from these actions is called leading a moral life according to the Buddhist understanding.
바로 다는다고 해서 타마다 시군다고 디시니 캐바인 소소는 시전에 다 라링케도 전에 르마 당고디 당연 두스샤 낭주는 단디 두저 타바샤체 두저 타바샤네 아니 뒤두야스달이야 뇽모나다 가서도에 뇽모때는 뇽모를 감대져야 돼 뇽모도 탑고야지 난 뇽모를 깨워치고 야래 난 뇽모를 깨워쳐발이야 냐라 리시기 팔라 뇽모를 깨도야 가고리 되는 인도산에 뇽모베 샤완도 두네 아니 내주 텐데하게 내주들이 뭐버디 또 못한 거 시작해 말이야 되네 르면이버데 내주들이 편하게 자외 교류 진행이 뇽모를 내못돼야 되네 르면 수버디 뇽모 대샤고 파가자를 내못돼야 되시야
So the general mode of procedure of a spiritual practitioner in Buddhism, someone who is sort of engaging on a spiritual path towards enlightenment, according to Buddhism, is that at the initial stage, at the beginner's stage, such a person's, such a practitioner's ultimate aspiration is to attain liberation from samsara, to attain freedom or attain spiritual freedom or enlightenment. So therefore, one of the principal tasks of such a practitioner is to gain victory over the kleshas, over our negative and afflictive emotions and thoughts. But at the initial stage, there is no way that the practitioner can directly combat with our kleshas, with our afflictive emotions and thoughts. So the sensible way to proceed at the beginning is to find a way of coping with the expression of these negative emotions and thoughts. These are our conducts, the negative actions of body, speech and mind. So therefore, the first step towards gaining that, towards attaining that ultimate aspiration of gaining victory over kleshas is to guard our body and mind and speech from sort of engaging in negative actions, so that we don't give in to the power and domination of afflictive emotions and thought. And then once you have achieved that stage, the first stage, then you can proceed on to the second stage, which is to then tackle the root cause, which is the fundamental confusion that we spoke about earlier, the ignorance. And then that is that, when you at that stage, then you can directly counteract the forces of the kleshas, the afflictive emotions and thoughts. Now once you have done that, the third stage is not only to simply gain victory over these delusions, but also to root out even all the propensities and imprints left by these delusory states of mind within our mind, within our psyche. Therefore, Aryadeva states in the 400 verses on Madhyamaka or middle way that a true spiritual aspirant must at the beginning overcome negative behavior actions, negative actions of body, speech and mind, and then in the middle phase must counter this grasping at self or ego, and then finally in the final stage, then the aspirant should overcome all sort of views that bind us within the samsaric realm.
Se inscreva no canal e ative as notificações. Deixe o seu like.